my people. Hello, 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 hello. Today, the topic was whose human right is it? Now, today is the 20th of October, 2021. My father died on the 18th of October many years ago. And in this week, it always sends me into a strange kind of funk. I'm always confused and I keep thinking about him and I keep thinking of, and the older I grow, the more I see what a wonderful human being my father was. If it is true that we choose our parents, I think I chose well because here I am. I'm a good girl. I'm a lucky girl. And God is always looking after me. Okay, now, moving on from deep sadness into life. There is an uproar with discussions up and down the land on Ghana's proposed LGBT bill. Others are silent, and some are talking. Now, what is pressuring us to be able to table this bill if we're not ready for it? If we are confused about it? If we are suspicious of it? And why? The position of the clergy and all religious and non-religious communities resonate on the urge to keep our socio-cultural values as far as LGBTQI plus issues are concerned. It has, however, become a big deal in Parliament to push forward this bill. Why? The question is, why is it now a big deal? Does this mean politics is being injected where it's not due? Because it's parliamentarians who are talking about it and pushing it. Is our politics now on the verge of sacrificing our values on the altar of selfish interests? So the people pushing it, is it that they have a hidden agenda somewhere? I'm even losing my words. Should we be silent and stop, let this pass, let it pass? Or should we add our voices to put things on track for the benefit of generations to come? I am of the view that we need to be involved in everything that happens in our country. And we should be able to talk about it because that's the meaning of democracy. Democracy means we are alert and awake on. Both sides have a say in what is happening. Now, my guest today is Dedo Masekole. She's a mother of 4 women, an umbrella of many other children. She looks after many. She's the sounding board for several. She's also and she's an advocate of the marginalized and downtrodden. I also was expecting Mr. Moses for Amaning, and who is a lawyer. He is an executive secretary of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values. He has been on the media circuit condemning the opening of LGBT plus rights office in Ghana. And he promised he would be here. I even spoke to him this morning. He assured me he would be on, and then he hasn't shown. At the last minute, I am hoping that something will kick him to come on. But if he's not here, that is fine. We still have a lot to talk about. And I kind of feel that halfway through, if he does not appear, I will tell you what I think of him because I'm formulating how I feel right now. Welcome to the show, Jado.
Thank you, Candy.
Yeah.
I'm honored
Now,
to hear.
my first question is you have heard about the proposed bill, and I will read the title of the bill to you.
Yeah.
It is Passage of the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why this bill was proposed?
No, tell me, what does it mean? I mean, I'd like to know before we move forward, what is a proper human sexual right? What's that?
Well, I needed the one of the architects of this bill to come here
Mm-hmm.
and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
That is my guest, Mr. Moses Fo Amaning, and he has not, at
What a
the last
shame.
minute, made an appearance. Therefore, I had a show last week, and people told me
Mm-hmm.
what their views were
Yeah.
on the bill, and I'll read it out. I'll read some of it out to you.
Okay.
This bill says
Mm-hmm.
if you engage
Mm-hmm.
in LGBTQ,
Mm-hmm.
you will go to prison for between 6 and 10 years
Mm-hmm.
for advocating for LGBTQIA rights in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
Prison time for not reporting your LGBTQIA family members and students.
Uh-huh.
Conversion therapy, a form of torture
Mm-hmm.
for being LGBTQIA.
Mm-hmm.
Forced medical intervention for
Mm-hmm.
intersex children and
Mm-hmm.
forced payment for the procedure. So if you are young and you've decided that you want to become, you want to change your sex or something, there will be a forced intersex and you'll be forced to pay for the procedure. I don't understand that, but it's there in the bill. 5 to
Okay.
10 years in prison for donating to LGBTQ rights group. So if you donate money to any group in LGBT, you will be put in prison for 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Extradition
Mm-hmm.
of Ghanaians abroad to be prosecuted in Ghana. Extradition means somebody will come from Ghana, arrest you, take you to Ghana, take you to court. You will be prosecuted underneath this bill. Abandonment of all LGBTQIA plus organizations. Now, this is just some of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I come in?
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
I
yeah.
come in very quickly before I forget? I mean, let's go back.
Yeah.
The idea that when a young person or someone decides they're gay
Yeah.
or trans or non-binary or any of the LGBTQ plus, it's not a decision, is it? The whole idea is it's who they are, it's the identity. So they don't just get up to decide. And this is why people are being so punitive, because we've got this idea that these young people have nothing to do, or not necessarily young people, these people have nothing to do. So they decide one day, I want to wear a dress. I want to be gay. I want to be transsexual. That whole line of thinking that they decide to be is very dangerous. It is who they are. It is the identity.
I understand that because it's biological, and we're saying this is
Absolutely.
something that they decided not because it was a whim,
No.
but it was because they have been feeling this for a very long time.
Or they've been living it. Because, I mean, what baffles me is we have been living almost all our lives with people who have always been gay. They were minding their own business. We know loads of them. We went to school with them. I've got family. I've got friends. I know people who are gay, and they're perfectly wonderful, lovely people. Nobody complained about them. And remember, the LGBTQ were not the one who went to Parliament to seek this bill. This came about because of the sudden interest in what they're doing and the criminalization of what is seen as unnatural sex. So why? What brought this about? What changed? Why did they suddenly decide? Why did we manage to live alongside our friends, our nephews, our nieces, our neighbors who were gay? And then said, what happened? What brought this about? What changed the status quo?
Let me show you something on what the chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee in Ghana said, so that we understand exactly why there is confusion on why we have the bill at all.
Okay.
To take this opportunity to explain to the public what the bill is about. The bill, it is not the gay people that are asking for a right. Rather, it is a group of parliamentarians that have come together to say that let us make a law
to actually cripple gay in the country. Elsewhere, in other countries, you would see or hear from the minority group, which is the gay and the LGBTQ, they coming out to say that we have a right, give it to us. No, that's not what we are having here. What we are having here is that we are saying that before they get there, let's cripple them, let's criminalize them, let's make sure that anybody who involves themselves in any of these acts must be punished. And the proposal is that they be sentenced or be fined, and the sentence goes up to about 5 years. So that's what we are supposed to consider. Now, I will take you to the first. We need to actually look at the law, and the law says that no bill shall be passed unless it has been read 3 times in the plenary, and then it has also gone through the consideration stage. Now, where we are, we read it the first time. If we go to the constitutions that before we could do private members bill, the person presiding, in his opinion, decide that the bill is not going to affect the purse of the nation. So they brought this to the speaker, and the speaker agreed that yes, let this pass through.
Because it's not affecting the purse.
Because in his opinion, it is not affecting the national purse.
But as chairman, do you think that this particular bill will affect the purse?
Personally, that decision that the speaker made, I do not agree with that, because the substance of the bill is saying that let them be punished. If the person, for instance, commits, and I received this as one of the petitions that came to us, they argue that, well, if the person, you criminalize it, and the person is sentenced to prison, who is going to feed the person? So it affects the national purse. That is one side of it. But we have gone beyond that. And that is not for me to make a decision.
Maybe the court would have to do that if anybody chooses to say that, let us get the interpretation of this. Now, what is before us is that the speaker referred this after the first reading of the bill.
Well, we've heard, I hope we have heard what was said. And what was said was, LGBTQ people did not propose a bill. They were minding their own business in Ghana, which is what it is. Ghana is a very tolerant country. What we do not like is people telling us how to live our lives. And so that is something that we should park, separate discussion. On this discussion, a bill is being proposed. When a bill is proposed, most of the time, it is for the safety of a minority, the safety of a minority of people who are being marginalized or being discriminated against or being treated so badly, lynched, etc., and it is a harm to them, their persons. Therefore, these people will request a bill to come out so that they are protected. Unfortunately, Mr. Fo Amaning and his family, I will read his family, proper human sexual rights and family values have decided that for the human rights of and the human sexual rights of people of Ghana, we should criminalize the LGBT people, we should throw them in jail, and we should even prosecute their relatives. Now, if you're a family man and you are for the family, why are you prosecuting? What is that? I don't understand the hypocrisy and the double standards of, here you are wrecking people's lives, you're throwing people in prison just because a brother, a cousin, an uncle, a sister, or someone is either a lesbian or homosexual. And yet you protect family rights? These are the questions which I was going to pose to Mr. Fo Amaning 18 minutes in, and he still hasn't appeared to answer my questions. One of the last questions he asked me was, am I a Ghanaian? On the phone this morning. He said, excuse me, are you a Ghanaian? And I said, yes, I am. A proud one too. And he said, bye-bye, and hung up. Now, I don't know whether that's why he has not appeared. I'm confused. I had all these questions for him. One of the other things he said is, he is for human rights, and he is here, he is coming to teach people not to put their choices down other people's throats.
But isn't that what he's doing? Isn't that what is doing? I mean, that how can that be? Well, it's a shame. Actually, it's a real shame he's not here, because it's been a bit of an anticlimax, because I was all ready for us to have a proper conversation with this gentleman so that there is a proper debate, but never mind. It's laughable that he says he's, for human rights, and we can't shove our beliefs in his throat. What are they doing? What is this bill saying? Isn't that denying a group of people of their fundamental human rights?
Well,
to belong, to have an identity. Because I've been reading quite a lot, and I was stunned to see that apparently a group of chiefs had actually described, may I read this?
Yeah.
It says, the bill in its memorandum quotes with approval the view expressed by the National House of Chiefs, my father would turn in his grave, that being LGBTQ plus is a taboo and inhuman. Harsh words. Inhuman under Ghanaian culture. The statement with respect stigmatizes the being and the identity of the LGBTQ plus people. How can we, as a people, deprive a group of people of the identity of who they are? Criminalizing this, their choices is actually not even based on our own traditional belief. It is a law that was imposed on the Ghanaian people. It was a British law made. I mean, it's not an indigenous Ghanaian thing. It's a British law, a colonial law, which was still left behind. So where does that fit in with it being a threat to our Ghanaian beliefs? Because it's not our law. And
it's a British law that was set up in 18. I'm looking for the correct time and date because I was so prepared for Mr. Formani that my whole questions have gone askew a little bit.
Because this whole thing is an affront to the dignity of life. These are humans, and what baffles me is the whole religious aspect as well. That I don't know where Christianity and traditional Ghanaian values. I mean, the whole thing has become a bit of a mishmash of things, and it does bother me a lot. Ghana is not a Christian country like everybody says. We're predominantly Christian. There are a lot of Christians, but we have Buddhists, we have traditional religious beliefs and all sorts of things. So how this whole state and church business is also alien to our culture.
One of the things that I'm particularly concerned about is where is democracy in this, if the parliamentarians are not, the people were asked questions by the World Family Group in America. And they were asked questions on what they felt about homosexuality, what they felt about domestic violence, what they felt about family. Now, a lot of people answered, the majority of people, about 98%, loved family. They were happy with family. And they and so this World Christian Family Group felt that this is what they were talking about, that the family was being eroded by homosexuals, and very soon there'll be nobody left in the country. There'll be no children and born because everybody was going to turn to homosexuals, and therefore this is why they are very determined to protect the family group. Now, what people don't understand, and what I think that some of the Ghanaians who did the survey did not understand, was that Ghanaians, when they talk of family, they are including their stepmother, stepbrothers and sisters, daddy's child that he had 5 years ago with someone else and had brought that person into the family, etc., etc. We are very big on extended family, and we love, sometimes even the person who gave birth to you children are not really close. You're closer to your brothers or stepsisters, whatever choices, So what people don't understand is that Ghanaians, if these arrangements from this foreign group manifests itself in our country, you will have mommy, daddy, and babies. Cousins, aunties, uncles, and everything will be null and void because that is what they think family should be. What we are forgetting is we listen to outsiders, and outsiders seem to be controlling our views time and time again. These homosexual laws were created by the British, and here in Britain now, LGBT is a big thing. You do not discriminate against an LGBT person. They are in work, they are everywhere. So why now? Why are we copying and going to the extreme of the whole situation? Can we not just say, stop it, leave us alone? We do have homosexuals, but they are not a problem, and just leave it there. And if a homosexual does a criminal act on another person, of course it's criminal and he should be arrested. But so, there is a fine line with dealing with issues and then going into the extreme and becoming fanatic.
But what is the issue here, Candy? I mean, that's what I'd like to know. I'm still baffled. I mean, what is the issue here?
The issue are the laws I read out to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you are here actually to tell us about the human rights side of it. I'm just giving you the layman's view.
Well, I came as a layperson to come and listen to Mr. Fuamani, who is the authority on all these things. So now let's play along with it. Well, I think it is an affront to human rights that I'm just going to go back to this paper, which is not my paper. But like I said, when I was going to come and speak in the first place, I was going to say, I'm not here to come and have a legalistic conversation nor theologize. I'm just here as an ordinary human being on the street who is standing by the LGBTQ and anybody who is marginalized to defend their right to be who they are.
So what?
And we come from a country with a constitution, and we are supposed to be big on human rights. So are we saying that because the group of people are not straight or heterosexual, they're denied of their human rights? Because that's what seems to be happening at the moment.
Well, if you will be in prison, you see, you're not asking me questions that I can't answer, because if you will go to prison for acting for LGBTQIA rights in Ghana, you will go to prison for 6 to 10 years.
But that again, it's not just that affects my human rights as well, because I have a right of choice. I have a right to belong to whatever group I want to belong to. And so where does it stop?
Yeah,
so this witch hunt, then what the average Ghanaian doesn't realize, this witch hunt is not just for the LGBTQ community, but anybody who supports that.
You see, okay, let's look at it this way. For example, if these are all the things I read to you, and I can read it again, if all of the charges that I've read to you are in the proposed bill, where does it end? Because
that's what I asked.
Yeah.
So we're all at risk. Basically, every Ghanaian is at risk.
But they don't know that. And those Ghanaians who did the survey and did not know why they were doing the survey, they didn't understand the reason for the survey. They are the ones who are Now it's like Brexit. Some people voted Brexit and didn't understand what it was about. And so really, maybe with all of these discussions that are going on the television, on YouTube, everywhere, this is why people should start thinking clearly on the meaning of the bill.
Yeah. But then you see the hypocrisy of it all. Now, from what you're saying, this whole survey was imported from the same
the
place.
survey came
This
from
whole homosexuality, which was never in Africa, was never in Ghana, was also imported and being supported with a criminal law, which was also imported. It makes a mockery of the whole thing.
the group that did the survey were called the World Congress of Families.
Yeah.
And they are the ones who did the survey. This survey, of course, is flawed, but they haven't understood it like that. You cannot go in country in Africa like Ghana. Ghana, we are the most, in fact, everyone wants to go to Ghana these days because we're so peaceful. We are so tolerant.
We're not.
We are tolerant. Christians marry Muslims.
Mm.
An agnostic can marry a Roman Catholic. There are so many things that we do. It's up to you what your understanding is and what your family are. So that is not the thing. However, if somebody comes from America and is just seeing a sea of black people and decides that, okay, let me ask you something. What do you think of that family values? Without explaining what sort of family values that you mean, it means the survey is flawed because you've asked them something that you haven't understood what actually their answer is giving you. That's how I'm reading it. But in any case,
what I'm also thinking is, from everything that you said about tolerance, that the outpour of venom and prejudice and bigotry that we're seeing now makes me wonder if the so-called tolerance we had in Ghana was just a very thin veneer. Because suddenly this thing is blown up and it's become a huge debate, Christian plus, it's become a big Christian thing that churches and even friends who are Christians are falling out because of this. Total lack of tolerance, total lack of grace, and the Bible being used to justify these unkind, ungracious, inhuman behavior. This lack of tolerance, which is just going to open a can of worms. You can't say Ghanaians overnight became intolerant. And I'm not saying all Ghanaians support this bill, but there are people who are out there baying for blood. They are vigilantes getting ready ready to sort of shop the homosexual.
No, you see, I think I am still on you where I think that Ghanaians have been misread and Ghanaians are being misquoted as a group, as a country, as a people. They have been misquoted and they have been misread. They have been misunderstood. That I seriously think that the survey is flawed. And I think the survey is flawed because when you really ask a question like, what do you like homosexuals? They may say no. Now they may say no because they are thinking of the homosexual act. They are not thinking of the human being in it. They have not connected with the thought that it could be your next door neighbor, your friend, your boss at work. the nurse who is looking after you. They haven't looked at it in this way. And I think for me, that is the angle from which I'm coming from, because I think that when we blanket say that Ghanaians are, I mean, some people are saying Ghanaians are highly judgmental. That is true. But they are judgmental from their standpoint. They're political. It is political. It is social. It is, I mean, we have issues. We have issues, and I think that our issues are not as different from other people's. And where someone says to you, "Do you like homosexuality?" Of course not, because you have been told of the dangers of it, the repercussions of it. And you know that the act is terrible to you, abhorrent to some. Now, if then they tell you that, did you know that Uncle Tom is a homosexual? I'm telling you that it will put a different slant.
But why though?
Because the people have not thought about it. They were not asked the right question. They were not, look, the World Congress of Families, everything that they do when they talk of family, it is code for racism. It is code for it is code for the Democrats against the Republicans. It's a political code. And therefore, when they're asking you things, they're asking you it from a different standpoint. They're not explaining why they're asking you questions. They know their agenda and they know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But at the moment, they've done their survey, they've left, and they've left a very bad taste in the average Ghanaian's mouth. We suddenly are against each other. We are at each other's throat. People are going to Parliament. They want to pass this bill, this really ridiculous bill, which is against a minority group of people who are not harming anyone. And what we as a people have to take responsibility. They may come with their agenda, but we should be thinking. We should start thinking before we respond to these things. We have a country which is in trouble. We have huge issues, big issues: education, sanitation, health, name it. Why are we spending our energy on criminalizing, victimizing a group of people who are not harming anyone? What happened to what about the politicians who are looting money? What about the girl child who is not going to school but is going to the market, to go to the farm to help the family? What about young girls who are sexually abused? What about, there's so many huge roads. We've got big things that we could deal with. Why are we focusing on what did any LGBTQ person do to destabilize the country? These children that we want more of, because the LGBTQ people are going to make there will be no children in the world. Go to China. They have one child. There's still a huge amount of people there. Are we saying that these people, meaning the LGBTQ community, are such a threat to our very being in Ghana? Are they? They're not. So that survey is really, for me personally, I think it's neither here nor there. We have to start thinking. We have to start unlearning some very, very bad, very, very unhealthy way of thinking. We're going to, as a people, have to start processing and analyzing things and just stopping and not just react at everything all the time. Because that's what is happening. This has become a witch hunt. This is suddenly just blown out there and we're going mad. We need tourists to come to Ghana. Are we going to police them when they go into hotels?
Yeah.
Who is going to come to Ghana? Who in their right mind is going to Ghana to go and live? One of my daughters wants to go and live in Ghana. My children are all human rights advocates, activists. They have big mouths. They educated me on being more aware of the LGBTQ community. I was actually mortified when I realized some of my thinking. My children spoke to me. They called me and said, "Mommy, look at it this way, do this." And I began to understand. I've become a better person, a more empathetic person. I am exercising more grace and humility from listening to my children. One of them wants to go and live in Ghana. I'm thinking, do you think you'll be able to go there? Because nobody's going to listen to you. And if you go and stand up for any gay person, they'll lock you up if this bill gets passed. So we've got real issues. These Americans who came to come and do this survey, let them. We have got to change our mindset. We have got to start thinking.
In the video,
Yes.
where the chairman of the committee spoke,
Yeah.
he said that it was a group of parliamentarians who came together to propose this bill.
Yeah.
This bill will have to go 3 times to Parliament as a whole to be looked at. And then I'm sure that some things will be taken out of it because it is very draconian sounding. And some of the things that they want to propose are illegal. How do you propose that we stop it or even, do something?
People should get off their backs. People should get up and stand up and be counted for. People should let their voices be heard. It's interesting to hear that the Christian Council, all the churches are behind this, and the National House of Chiefs. I'm just horrified, especially because of the churches. Where is the grace in all of this? It's incredible that this Levitical law about homosexuality, there's a whole list. We are all criminals when it comes. Never mind going to the New Testament. Let's stick to just the things that are written in Leviticus.
Please, can you read it for us?
Oh, I don't have my Bible here and I can't see.
No, but
okay. Crustaceans, pork, sleeping in the same bed with your wife who's in their period, being unclean and cooking in the house, postcoitus, what we call it, ejaculation and all of that. It happens. Let's be grown up about this. We should all be locked up. We cannot have a buffet table Christianity where you choose what is wrong and what is not. Fast forward to the New Testament. We have 2 rules, 2 commandments. Love the Lord God with all your heart, with all your mind and your soul, and your neighbor as yourself. It didn't say the non-homosexual neighbor. It didn't say only heterosexual neighbors. It said neighbor. Who is your neighbor? We also have the Great Commission to go out and make disciples of men. If we're going to get all religious and Christian about it, it didn't say only heterosexuals. And Christ did not die for just heterosexuals. So where is the grace? Where is grace in all of this? I've read places people talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. Go back and read the story. Go back. God is gracious. He is kind. Lot went asked him, will you save us if we had 10 people who were righteous? They brought it down to almost minimum. This is the kind of God that I know of. I don't know about which God these other people worship. Misquoting the Bible, left, right, and center, talking about what's the other goes about? We are allowed to judge. We're not the judge. It's God's place to judge. Our job is to love. It's God's place to judge. It's the Holy Spirit's place to convict. Okay? It's not our place. Our job. The only commandment that we have is to love. And it's not soppy, sloppy love. It's compassion. And we don't do that very well. When the elders came to Jesus with the adulterous woman, who did she commit the adultery with? There was nobody. She was alone. So really, she was alone. And what did Jesus say? He went down, drew in the sand, and whilst he said to them that he who is of no sin cast the first stone, they all left. And Jesus says, I don't condemn you. Go and change. If Christ himself is not condemning, why are we condemning these people? If God, that's according to the Christian God, God is almighty, omnipotent, he created us, and yet he gave us free will. If God himself, who is your boss, you the bishops and the vicars, or God is your boss. If your boss has given us free will to choose, who are we to take that choice from the LGBTQ? Who are they harming? What happens behind closed doors happen behind closed doors. How many heterosexual couples are not breaking that supposed what's the word again? They've got this archaic way of describing sex, which is not supposed to be, what's the word again? They call it abnormal carnal knowledge. What a load of something. We don't know what happens in other people's homes. So we actually have no right. We really don't. We're not being kind. We're not being considerate. We're not being... Actually, we are the ones who are not being human. We call LGBT people inhuman. Our inherent nature is to be compassionate. So when we try to lord it over people and take their rights of choice away, it is wrong. I'm not a lawyer. I've read this whole thing, and there's a lot of stuff that you think, did they think about it before they proposed this bill? Clearly not. But we've got to stop. We've got to start thinking.
That's your last word. We've got to stop. We've got to start thinking about our fellow man.
Yeah.
What we don't do is, yes, we can be judgmental, but we do not lynch people. We do not attack people.
No.
We do not disturb people to do whatever they want to do inside of their homes.
No.
We are so much like that we cannot even deal properly with domestic violence in our own homes.
No.
We do not we try not to get involved in families and situations when a woman comes to talk about her domestic violence issues. We are not that helpful because we continually believe that we should leave people in their families to do what they deem fit, and we leave it to their elders and whatnot. Now, in this situation, it looks like we are entering into people's homes.
Yeah.
We are trying to break down families.
Yes.
What we are not aware of is that we cannot use the Western agenda to deal with our issues. Now, whilst religion and everything else has come into it, it is making our situation even worse because there's confusion. And there is, it's causing a lot of confusion. People, we have come strangely. we have come to the end of another show. Our time
We haven't.
We have
What's
spent
Mr.
15
Foreman? I am very unhappy because I really was waiting to have a chat with him. But hey, thank you.
We have come to the end of the show, and people, thank you for staying on and watching. I wish it could have been longer, but I do not have that luxury. This will continue. I have finished with it. I am tired of this discussion. But one thing that I need you to remember is, if something is happening to your neighbor and you look elsewhere, one day they will come for you.
Yeah.
So always remember that if it doesn't sit well in your soul, if it doesn't sit well in your heart when someone is being maltreated, be careful. If you do not say anything, it will happen to you. Thank you so much, my people. Thank you, Auntie Dedo, for coming on to discuss this very delicate and difficult thing. You stayed, you talked, we've heard you, we have been educated.
Don't know about
Stay
that.
on while I say bye-bye to my people. My people, I will forever love you for staying with me. If this is your first time listening to my show, where have you been? Where have you been? Now, join, click on, make your comments, say whatever you want to do. Come next week. We have something more exciting than the LGBTQ. Something softer, something sweeter.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.